I remember every time, I still remember that it used to write, when you connect it to the TV, you'll just see it, and then it will be just, oh, it connected, okay? It would write on the screen, Sony Video Cassette Player. So
Garfield.
George of the Jungle. We had
The Gods Must Be Angry.
The Gods Must Be Crazy.
Oh, crazy.
Shaka Zulu.
Oh, yeah.
Matilda.
I grew up speaking English and Pennsylvania German. And when I was like 3 or 4, my mom said that I would say, oh, is it the time to speak like the people in Walmart, or is it the time to speak like we speak?
I do also understand one of the main reasons your mom left the Amish community, or your parents left the Amish community, is that they didn't want their kids to go through something called Rumspringa.
They split off from the Catholic Church. That movement split into two. One was Amish, and the other one was Mennonite.
There was no institution of dating. Boys used to come to our home, but then my dad used to be like was really strict. My dad was coming with like a bicycle, and they saw him. Everybody scampered.
Oh,
I remember
really?
there's a guy who like jumped over a barbed wire, and the barbed wire got his like trousers, tore the whole of his trousers, but then escaped.
One family, one spark, one child for all clan. We go together hand in hand. For all clan. Love like that can move the land. Through every storm, through every plan. We shine, we rise. For all clan.
My name is Marcellus, my wife's name is Charity, and our son's name is Dos. This is going to be episode 3, where we'll be trying to tell you guys of our differences and similarities through the life of a child. So we started, the first episode was when a mother was expectant, and then a child is born. The second episode was about like a little child growing up in a family. Now in
We talked about school.
And in this episode we're going to be talking about the life of a teenager, right?
And maybe add in a little bit about our church situation.
Our church.
Yes.
And last time we forgot about the languages that we spoke.
Oh, that's an
is
interesting
taught
thing
in
to,
school.
This is
So I think so that we do not forget it, we should start with that. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Okay.
Yeah, should I start?
Yeah, because the funny thing is when you came here, a lot of people assumed you wouldn't know English.
Exactly.
And were surprised that you had a good handle on English and that you could read English and so on. So how did you learn English so well?
Okay, so to start us off on that subject, the country of Kenya has a total of around 42 to 47 tribes. These tribes speak different languages. So there's that at the back of our head, okay? Then when Kenya was colonized, it became a British protectorate, then it became a British colony. So the settlers moved into Kenya. Now, way before that, the tribes in Kenya needed to speak amongst themselves. And a language emerged in the coastal regions of Kenya and Tanzania. That language was called Swahili.
Oh, okay.
Swahili is a mix of the Kenyan or the East African Bantu languages,
Okay.
together with Arabic, okay, and Portuguese.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, because Kenya was actually, you remember, I mean, have you ever heard of Vasco da Gama?
I don't think I have.
So Vasco da Gama was a Portuguese explorer, the same
Okay.
way you'd have Columbus, okay, who came to America.
What was his name?
Vasco da Gama. So the Portuguese were actually the ones who discovered the route to India. They are going to look for
Oh,
spices.
well, yeah, I know that, but
So
okay.
they'd go around Africa,
Uh-huh.
the north of Africa, then come to the southwest, then down to Cape Town, then to Zanzibar, Mombasa, then to Goa, India.
Ah, okay.
So that's why Swahili is a mix of India, Arabic, because Kenya is just close, proximal to the Middle East. Okay?
Uh-huh.
So Swahili is a language that emerged as a result of trade.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if you take a look at this, tea, we call tea chai.
Uh-huh.
In India, they also call it chai.
Uh-huh.
In Sri Lanka, okay, there's something called chapati. In India, Pakistan, they call it the same way.
So you have little tiny bits of things
So
from
it's
a
a
lot of
language
different
of
countries.
trade.
Okay.
So these local people with different tongues needed to use Swahili to communicate.
Oh, that makes
But
sense.
now
yeah.
with the coming of the Europeans, the Britons in Kenya, one of the first institutions that they sought to run down was the language. Okay,
Oh.
they needed to say, hey, your language is inferior. You need to adopt English, okay, so that people could be able to, when they moved into settler farms, could be able to converse with the settlers and be able to communicate and offer their labor. And, I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So as a result of colonization, we adopted English.
Okay.
And then at the back of our mind, till to date, people think English is way superior. I remember in schools at a very young age, we will be forced to speak English. If you speak Swahili, and it will be hard, then if you speak Swahili, you'll be given something called a disc.
Oh,
They'll
okay.
tie like a big piece of wood with a string, and then if somebody had you speaking Swahili, they'll get that and you'll wear that.
Oh, you
thing.
had to wear like
Yeah,
a
if
scarlet letter on
If you
you.
had somebody speak it, you'll take it then, give it to somebody
Oh,
else.
so
And
that's
this
the
was
only way you would get
enforced.
rid of it.
Yeah, this was enforced in school through
Oh,
the principal
my.
master. So it was something serious and embarrassing.
Okay.
Then the names of the people who had the disc would be written down and they'll actually be punished, either through caning or getting work to be done
Oh
around
my.
school. So
That's
we were forced to
aggressive.
learn English.
I see.
So also, I need to say this: everything in school, every subject is taught in Swahili. Is taught and
English.
written in English.
Yeah.
Except with the exception of Swahili. So in recent times, the country, and as a result of organization where you'd have the East African community, people started understanding the need of an international committee or community of foreign relationship to open up trade and such, okay? So people started people wanted to adapt Swahili. So it spread around East Africa, and right now it's even spreading down to South Africa. So Swahili was introduced as a subject.
oh,
in
I
school,
see. Okay.
which was written and taught in Swahili. That only that. You see?
Interesting.
So that's how I can speak Swahili very well, and above all, I can write. My written English is way better than
Yeah, you're really good at writing
than
English.
spoken English, because we would not, in a normal setting at home or around Kenya, we would not converse in English.
Sure.
Outside schools, we'd converse in Swahili or our local dialects. So my spoken English is not as good as my written English, and that's how I learned English.
Well, the other thing you should add too,
Yeah.
just a little piece, is that your dad was kind of instrumental in giving you extra English with the videos you watched at home.
Oh yes. So the thing is, my dad really liked. I think I should add some light on that camera. Okay. Let me add some light. So my dad really liked things to do with the media. When they were growing up, like their family really loved music, even though they were like poor. Okay. And they all learned how to play guitars by going to like churches and choirs and that. Up until to date, he still has like, what are they called? The records?
Oh
You know,
yeah,
what are
records.
that thing that would
The
go
big
round and
yeah.
round, okay? And he loved music. His brothers actually like produced some music that we used to
Wow.
listen to. So he loves this, he loves media and music and that kind of thing. So in as much as we did not have much, he bought, I remember we used to have like a Sony Hunchback TV.
Oh really?
The big
Yeah.
Sony, okay? And then we have like, we used to call it DEC. It was also Sony.
Oh, so
Sony then
it was
like a
good. Well,
brand,
that
okay?
still is.
Then
yeah.
he'd buy tapes.
Like V8, like
Tapes to put on the deck, and then we'd
Oh,
watch video.
okay.
I remember every time, I still remember that it used to write, when you connect it to the TV, you'll just see it, and then it will be just, oh, it connected, okay? It would write on the screen, Sony video cassette player.
oh, and then you knew good things
Then
were
you
good.
put you put the tape inside
Yeah.
the deck. Then it'll do. Then it'll like, Sony video cassette player. Then you play. Then it starts.
Then
playing.
you had George of the Jungle.
We
and-
had really good movies there. I don't think Hollywood makes good movies as they used to. So we had
Garfield.
Garfield, George of the Jungle. We had
The Gods Must
The
Be
Gods
Angry.
Must Be Crazy.
Oh, crazy.
Shaka Zulu.
Oh, yeah.
Matilda. Those era. So I was very young, but we were privileged to have that.
Yeah.
I think we were the only people in our village to have that.
And I think that actually had a pretty good impact on your conversational
Exactly.
English.
So in fact, in school, I was really good at English.
Were you?
Then I was like, where did this English come from?
Yeah.
Aha! I used to be the best, same as my family. This English came from watching Hollywood movies.
How
and
interesting.
children's
Who would have
stuff and all
thought that a
that.
little thing like that, you know, would
Exactly.
make a difference?
Because up until high school, up
Yeah.
until university, a lot of my colleagues still struggled with English.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have that foundation.
Well, I felt like when I visited you in Kenya,
Yeah.
like not everybody was comfortable speaking English with me, because I thought, because you told me everyone, you know, learned English, I was like, oh, I'll just go up to anyone and say what I want. But they were a little more shy or hesitant with English. So I do think that had a pretty big bearing on you.
Definitely. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the language that
Yeah.
we spoke and we were taught it. We were taught in school. What about you? I'm really interested in Pennsylvanian Dutch.
Yes, Pennsylvanian Dutch. So that is a dialect of German. And when my family visited Switzerland, or Germany, I forget which one it was, but I think it was Switzerland, there was actually a village that spoke exactly the same dialect as we do. So that was kind of fun. But that is something that came over with my ancestors, various subgroups of German, dialects of German. And my family has kept that. I grew up speaking English and Pennsylvania German, and when I was like 3 or 4, my mom said that I would say, oh, is it the time to speak like the people in Walmart, or is it the time to speak like we speak? That's how I differentiated which was what language.
But then at home you'd speak Dutch.
We only ever speak Pennsylvania Dutch at home, and I still do. Like if I call my mom or my siblings, it feels very awkward and very weird to speak English to them. So we still speak that, and I'm speaking that to Doss too. So hopefully he'll be bilingual easily. I'm trying to get you to.
I'll teach him Swahili.
I would like if he would learn Swahili too, because it's so effortless for a child to learn.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really appreciate that I know 2 languages, or grew up knowing them, because then when I lived in Haiti for a year, I learned French Creole, and I really felt like knowing 2 languages, like my tongue, it was easier for my tongue to adapt to another unusual language, rather than just, you know, if I'd only spoken this English with those tones, it would have been a little harder for me to pick up the French Creole, I think.
Yeah.
But I also love language, and I love learning them. I tried learning Swahili before you came, but I've petered out. I need to restart that, I think.
You know what? Like, I was so impressed. That caught me off guard. Remember when and I think I've said that.
Yeah, when
my
me
brother
and Spencer talked
came
together.
to pick us, and both of you guys learned that you actually served in Haiti, because he served in Haiti with a Catholic organization called Missionaries of the Poor. And we were in the vehicle, and these two guys realized they both were in Haiti, and they started speaking this foreign
Yeah,
language.
bonjour, chérie.
Yeah. By the way, do you know we have a big Haitian audience?
We do?
Say something to them.
Wow, it's so nice that we have Haitian audience.
Say something to them in Creole.
It's okay. It's been a little while since I've spoke it, so I don't want to sound terrible. So
Anyway, so
yeah, so that's an interesting aspect of like of our different cultures.
yeah.
So
But I'm really, it's confusing. But I think we could check it up on Gemini or any AI. Why is it called Dutch? D-U.
Pennsylvania Dutch.
C-H. I mean, Pennsylvania is okay because your ancestors first settled in Pennsylvania or Ohio.
Well, yeah, in
Okay?
Ohio, yeah.
So it makes sense, the place where
Yeah.
they settled first. But why is it called Dutch? Because it's not Dutch. Because
I know, it
Dutch
isn't
is
Dutch.
people from Holland or the Netherlands,
Yeah.
but you people are not from there. Or maybe it's people around that area.
I'm not sure. That would be an interesting thing.
Yeah,
I don't actually know that.
Yeah, I think
But there's even a Bible that's written in Pennsylvania Dutch.
good. Talking of writing, I do understand the Pennsylvanian Dutch can't be written.
It can
Is
be.
it?
It can be. There's a Bible written in it.
So, but I do also understand you guys, your mom and everybody read Bibles in German, High German.
Well, yeah, I can read pretty much High German.
Yeah.
I can understand some of it,
Yeah.
like just of the High German, but not everything of it.
But reading, you
Well,
can
my
read
mom
German.
my mom when I was younger, she made us all do the High German little book
Yeah.
so that we would learn our ABCs. That's the alphabet.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's move on to now the life of a teenager.
Yeah. So
What should we? Okay. Let's.
Well, so, you know, my teen years started soon after. I mean, obviously I was in school one more year, but then we had the community I grew up in, we graduated in 8th grade, so I was out of school when I was 14, and then there was a 2-year window of time between the end of school and when I could go to the youth group. Like, that was a huge milestone. When you were 16, you were allowed to go with the youth. And so that little period in between there, it felt like it was eternally long.
Yeah.
Like I had to just be with my parents, and I had to learn how to do stuff, and my mom taught me a lot of things like that. It was a very important 2 years of my life. But then at 16, we got to go with the youth, and that was such a wonderful time for me. We would, once a week, was it once a week? Every other week maybe we did something. Like one of those weeks we would go to the church house and mow the lawn. The boys would mow the lawn, the girls would do stuff, and then we would have supper together and play volleyball and softball. We would just do all kinds of things, and we really enjoyed being together. I grew up in a really fun youth group, I think. And then we weren't allowed to date until we were 18. And dating is a pretty big deal in our circles.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something, casual dating is not really something that is done so much. Our parents did more casual dating. They didn't really think that was good. So then it became really the other extreme where a boy would pray a long time if he thought there was a girl he liked.
Yeah.
He would sometimes they would ask the ministry if that was a good idea. Then they would have to ask the dad if it's okay. And then finally, if everything was aligned, then he could ask the girl, and then you would go on dates. And it was pretty structured, like you have curfews, like I dated once when I was 19. And we had a curfew. I had to be home by like 10:30, I believe, every night. We could have a date like maybe once a week or something like that. And it was highly encouraged or expected that it was totally a hands-off situation. So you were supposed to learn to know somebody, their personality, their character, decide if you were compatible together without getting confused with feelings and like physical touch and that sort of thing.
And that dating starts at the age of? Come again?
18.
18. Now, I do also understand one of the main reasons your mom left the Amish community, or your parents left the Amish community, is that they didn't want their kids to go through something called Rumspringa.
Right, which is more of an Amish thing, and maybe even a more old order Amish. There's varying, should I say, degrees of Amish. Like some are very, very strict. Some are not quite as strict. Some are more becoming a little more modernized, let's say. But my parents grew up in a community that was very strict. But there is a period of time in the Amish youth that is called rumspringen. You're kind of expected or allowed to do kind of whatever you want, which is like have parties, drink beer, maybe be immoral. It was not, and it was something that my mom really had a strong aversion to. Like she did not want. She did not want us to go through that, and so that was one of the reasons they decided to move away from that Amish community and become Mennonites. So that is not commonly or something that is still practiced in Mennonite circles at all. So I don't know if we want to branch off into our church because it kind of feeds into that.
Let's go.
So it's been 500 years since the Anabaptist movement started in Europe, in Switzerland, where there was a deviation from the Catholic Church, or a going away from the Catholic Church for various reasons. A few of them were non-resistance. The biggest one was that the movement did not think that it was okay for babies to be baptized.
What do you mean by non-resistance?
So non-resistance just means that you, if somebody, in the Bible it talks about how Jesus said if somebody hits you on the one cheek, you turn the other cheek. So in other words, some things we wouldn't do is go to war because we don't believe killing somebody is okay. And non-resistance can factor into a lot of areas of life. So if your neighbor is aggressive towards you, your response to that can be a non-resistant issue. Like you don't just look for ways to be unkind to them or to retaliate. Non-resistance is not just going to war, but it's a way of life of not being out to return the evil that is done to you, an eye for an eye thing. Yes. But the baby baptism was a huge thing because they didn't think that babies were old enough or mature enough to understand the purpose of baptism, and to be able to verbally acknowledge that they want to become a follower of Jesus. So that was kind of there were more things, but that's kind of the basic one in particular. And they split off from the Catholic Church. It became what is called the anti-Baptist because of against baptism. So, but then it morphed into Anabaptist, more of a smooth word, I guess. But eventually that movement split into two. One was Amish, started by Jacob Alman, and the other one was Mennonites that came from Menno Simons, I believe, is the branch of that. The Amish veered off into being very precise about being simple, not following any trends of the world. So they kind of, in a way, just stayed in the 1800s. Like the community my parents grew up in, there was no running water. They had outhouses. They drove horse and buggy. There was no electricity. They would have not had any sort of like phones or anything like that. So they wanted to stay as simple as possible. They tended to be more agrarian, where they wanted to they grew up on farms, dairies, had large families, and that was kind of that.
Yeah.
The Mennonites were also conservative, but they were a little bit more. Well, I guess as people ask me at work a lot, what is the difference? Like, what's the difference between an Amish and a Mennonite? And I guess the easy way to say it is that we're the modern version of Amish. Our beliefs are the same. We both believe in the Bible and following the path of Jesus and the commands that He gave us. But our lifestyle then varies a little. So we would have a vehicle. We do have electricity. I didn't grow up with, I grew up with electricity, indoor plumbing, a vehicle, and that sort of thing. So that's kind of the differences in that. The other thing I would really like to specify here is that we're Christian. That is our religion. We're followers of Jesus. We believe in what the Bible teaches and the Word of God. Our culture is Mennonite. So I don't like when people get that mixed up. Being a Mennonite does not make you a Christian or a believer in Jesus. But we that is our culture, and I appreciate how it goes together, and it helps us to, some of the things it helps us follow Jesus in an easier way, maybe, if that's understandable. But again, like you have to make a personal decision for yourself to become a follower of Jesus. And then I do really hugely appreciate being a Mennonite. I know there's a lot of people who have had bad experiences, who Mennonites are not really something that they admire. And I understand people's stories are very different, their experiences are different, but for me, I appreciate it so much. I appreciate the community, how we are together, how if we have a need or a problem, we have a huge community of people. And I think that has really concreted in my mind from working in the hospital. I have seen so many people that say, I don't have anyone. They're dying. Nobody knows that they're dying. They might have a neighbor who might come in and check on them. They might not have anyone. We have people. For example, somebody just passed away in our community, an older person, and I would say when the funeral happens this next week, there'll be probably between 300 and 400 people who will show up to help the family, be supportive. It just feels really good to me to be part of a community. The other thing with community is that it gives our children a very safe place. And again, I will just say that is not always the case. I know that with any cultures, with any communities, bad things can happen. Like I know that there's been abuse in some communities. That's across the board, I think, in any culture. You know, sometimes there are really bad experiences, and then there's others that are good. I can say for myself that I've never had any terrible things happen to me. And so I want to be careful to say that I understand if people's story is different. But for me personally, that is the beauty that I see in living in a community. Our children have a safe place. They have friends that they grew up with that are on the same journey. They get to go to a private school where it's, you know, we get to say what gets taught there, you know, Bible-based curriculums and things like that. So I feel really blessed that I get to be part of a community of Mennonites.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's kind of where that veered off to, I guess, from dating into that.
Yeah, definitely. So what you came across, and I can actually really, you know, I think America has a history where like there was a lot of violence.
Yeah.
And then there's also like a lot of in modern America, there's a lot of individualism, individualistic lifestyle where people want
That's
to be
true.
independent.
Yes.
And when you have people having in the back of my mind, I'm independent, everyone is striving for independence,
Right.
they move away from community.
They
then
do.
we are creatures of human beings, are sociable creatures.
We are.
We are
We
meant
really
to
are.
stick together.
That
okay?
is so true.
I find that in America, like if you look at the foundation of this country, there was a lot of violence and a lot of stealing and doing whatever that was happening in this country. We still have that where people are like cutthroat.
Yeah. When I
Yeah.
think you have a really good point. The individualism, I think, is a huge thing even
Yeah.
in the last 20 years. Like,
Yeah.
people really they don't, and it takes grace to be in a community.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes people talk about things
Yeah.
that you don't really want them
Yeah.
to. But you look at that and you say, does this outweigh the benefits
benefits.
of being in a community?
So the benefits is they're always looking after, Mennonites always look after
They
each
do.
other.
They
and then
do.
the community, and then people are like, there's just more honesty than any other community you'll come across. Like it's
the accountability.
exactly,
Yeah.
it's a feel of family.
It is.
Exactly, definitely. As an outsider coming here, they say that Africa people live in communities. Well, where I come from, I've never seen, anything that matches the Mennonite community here. And I do also understand different Mennonite communities have different leadership and different sets
They
of
do.
rules,
They
okay?
do.
So you'd find a certain Mennonite community being headed by a certain leadership that is not the best leadership,
Yeah.
and you have people leaving that community because they feel somebody wasn't fair. But-
With a really maybe sour
but-
taste in their
exactly.
mouth,
But for this church that we go to,
Yeah.
the bishop is the best man I've ever come across.
Yeah.
He's the best understanding man. Then you have the deacon, he's the best understanding man too. You have the
ministers. We
ministers.
do have a really
the
good
leadership
team.
is
It is.
really good. And from now on, here and there, you'll find people that really want to cause problems. Like when I came here, there was someone actually, just to mention, someone who really never even wanted to see me. Like they'll be disgusted by me, but somebody else mentioned, yeah, I don't want to get into that. You'd find those people. But then the leaders would actually tell you, hey, this is the situation, and I like the way they calm things down and
Yeah.
resolve the situation in such a way that the community still thrives and the community still works. I'll give you an example. You see, in the churches I went to in Kenya, it's usually the churches are manufactured with a culture that you have to give, and you'll go to church on Sunday and the minister would spend 40% of the time telling you about offerings and trying to
get money.
cleverly get you to give out money.
Didn't you say, you were telling me the church you went to, remember when you were in
I
Nairobi?
I
No.
wouldn't get to the church. No, I wouldn't mention it because
No, I know, but
because
I
of
was
theirs.
but you just I
No, I
was
wouldn't
surprised
mention
because of how many offerings. That's all.
No, I wouldn't even mention the
Okay.
church because of publicity.
Okay.
I wouldn't even go to that.
Okay.
But just
That's
know
fine.
the churches in Africa, they're like even the Catholic Church, really pushing you to give out money, and the
okay.
most amount of money you can give out. Okay.
Okay.
So, but then in the church here, it feels as if you do really understand. Hey, we are a collective community. The church the money that you give is money that is going out to help other people and help the community with projects. And not once, ever since I came here, it's 2 years, nobody has ever talked in church about offerings.
Really?
Nobody has ever done that. And to me, I realized, hey, you know what? The church is an institution meant to benefit from people. Okay? So I stopped giving out to church, but when I came to this church,
Yeah.
actually right now I can give out money to church because I do understand it's not meant to go feed some individuals in the church. It's not a business. That's what I mean.
It's not a business. That's a good way to
and
put
one
it.
thing
Yeah.
I liked, the ministers here, the bishop, no one receives a salary.
Nope. That is one thing
No one is included in the budget. People here, the ministers have their own businesses. People here, the church is the church and it's respected in its own way. The money is used to help other people, support mission work. And okay, I want to get into this when I speak about the church in my turn, okay? But I think it's time to go back to, before we forget.
Oh, right. You kind of missed your dating part. Yes.
Yeah. So in Kenya, we'd go to boarding schools at a very young age, at least for my life. And I know for a majority of people, not majority, but a lot of people in Kenya would kind of go through the same. People would go to, yes, he's starting to speak, by the way. They say dada. It's a very young age to start speaking.
Daddy? Where's Daddy?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. So, okay. So, I'll speak about my life. So, we went to boarding school.
Okay.
And then the boarding schools were segregated.
Oh.
So, leave primary school where like I went to a school that was mixed and still boarding school. But then I feel like I was still very young. I wasn't in my, do you call it puberty?
Yeah.
So the hormones were not, there was no difference between a girl and a woman and a boy sexually, okay?
Yeah,
So there was
well, that's,
typically,
yeah.
there was a relationship where somebody wrote a letter to somebody and it caused a lot of problems, okay? But people were still babies in primary school.
Yeah.
But now, at the age of, I believe, 13, we went to high school, okay?
Was that
And it
still
boarding school.
segregated?
It was segregated. Boys' school alone,
Ah.
far away from your home. You spent your entire, you technically become a man in boarding school.
Wow. Not
So-
even with your parents,
so-
under the influence of your parents,
Exactly.
really.
So we knew nothing about dating. I mean, it was not a structural phenomenon in our community. There was nothing about dating. And now, for schools, I do understand. We used to have functions where we'd go for contests.
Okay.
Or in other schools, or drama festivals.
Would you
and
notice
such.
the girls
But then
then?
the girls would come. That is high school, puberty, adolescence. Okay.
So was it really exciting to see the girls?
It was so exciting. But for me, I was still very shy. I was afraid of, I'll be honest, I was afraid of women
girls.
then. Exactly. But I used to see my colleagues would wear really well. I'd wear really good. And I'd also want to be noticed, but then I couldn't get to speak to a girl.
Oh, honey.
Yeah, so that was me. So people will dress really nicely, the best shirt that they've never touched in their like metallic box in their, they'll iron it like the whole night. People will not sleep. If there
Oh,
was a
that's for
function
preparing for the
tomorrow.
function.
And the boys would go like there will be music, rhythm, rhythm that originated from Jamaica. So that's what like used to be like our time, and that's what would be played in function.
I see.
Yeah. So that was it, and people would write letters. I mean, for some reason, I don't know how people would get letters. I just don't know. I never wrote letters, but that
Maybe it
was
was like a friend of a friend or
exactly.
something.
I also do understand that there used to be cases where if two boarding schools, boys and girls school, were closely together, boys would escape at night.
Oh, and go visit the girls.
And vice
too.
versa. Sometimes
But
girls.
how could they get in? Wasn't it like locked and stuff?
No, they jump fences. We still had cases where people would jump fences, leave for the night, and still they'd manage to be caught.
Wow.
Leave, then came back. And then for some reason, they got caught.
Some reason.
Yeah. So there was no institution of dating
Okay.
where I'm from.
Do you not call it dating? Like if a boy and a girl like each other, is that not considered dating?
It would be called like, I don't even know that. I mean, it's not a part of life that is officially recognized.
Because you were just so segregated so much of the time.
But when I was younger, because my older siblings did not go to boarding schools, I remember boys used to come to our home, but then my dad used to be like really strict. I remember there was a time some boys came to our place, and something happened. I was very small. My dad was coming with like a bicycle, and they saw him. Everybody scampered.
Oh,
I remember
really?
there's a guy who like jumped over a barbed wire, and the barbed wire got his like trousers, tore the whole of his trousers, but then escaped. Like there was like some serious drama raised that day.
Oh my.
So dating was not a thing. It was
I see.
my parents believed it was like it was a taboo. Nobody would even talk about it.
Okay.
Okay, so that was dating, and
So it was kind of this
and
vague
teenage-
out there thing that you didn't really
and
talk about.
teenagehood. Now, when we left, I left high school at the age of 19. Okay.
Well,
to
in
go to-
university wasn't segregated.
no segregate. Now in university, now this is where life became interesting because everybody has freedom.
Oh.
Now remember, like now these people have been released from segregation. They never met. Now people are coming together in university. People have like loans, student loans, so they've got money. They've got all the freedom in the world.
Do you
They
feel?
feel like they're adults. People are so happy. So you'd find people like going to clubs. People like playing music. People like are dressing really well. Now that is where I'd call that. Now this is normalized in Kenya, where like I had roommates who used to do that. Like you'd leave, we used to call it exile, because you have no other place. You have a roommate in a hostel in school, and they bring a girl, and you'd have nothing to do than to leave.
So you were exiled
So
from your
you're
dorm.
exiled. Okay, so people would kind of like compete. Like their roommate will exile them today. Tomorrow they'll.
Oh,
bring a
you
lady
had to be
exile
exiled the other one.
Okay.
Do you feel
So-
like people went kind of overboard because of the segregation up until that point?
Of course, and now that's what leads to immorality. But now it's in a certain culture, it's normalized.
Right.
In university,
Right.
it's normalized to have a sex with multiple partners, multiple people.
Yeah.
Would you call that fornication?
Yeah.
Is that fornication? Exactly. So that, in a nutshell, is. Would that still be? I'd say youth. That would be the life of a teenage.
Like maybe a later
teenager getting
into like
youth,
20.
because 18. I joined campus when I was 19, but other people joined campus when they were 17.
So
they
like
would still
the
be
end of
teenagers.
teenhood into early adult.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now let's speak about religion. I believe I've done some justice to that,
I think you have.
right? Teenagehood. I've painted a
Yeah,
fair
I
picture
think
of
so.
teenagehood.
So then tell us about your church experience in your life.
So I grew up in a Catholic family. My mom, dad, very religious.
Okay.
Okay, and but we were not privileged growing up, so we used to to begin with, church was really far. We'd walk like around maybe 4 miles, if I'm not wrong.
Wow.
Let me use kilometers.
4 miles.
We'd walk probably 7 or 8
Well, that is
kilometers
about 4 miles, isn't
to
it?
church. Okay,
Yeah.
and then sometimes we'd have torn shoes. We didn't have the best of clothes. We did not have innerwear. I remember we
No
used to go to
innerwears.
church
Oh
to
my
school
goodness.
without innerwear. So, and then after that, there's a school that I went to called Mary Immaculate, where we were like, I attended catechism, and I was a really good student of catechism. Then it came to baptism, and I remember I couldn't get baptized because I remember I did not have a white dress, or I did not pay some money for something, and that really, from a very young age, spooked something in me.
That kind of
Made
gave
me
you a
started
really
asking
sour
questions
taste,
about
didn't it?
Okay, I don't like going to church because I feel like an underdog because I don't have the best of.
Well,
of
and they
fashion.
prevented you from
And then
becoming
it's
part of
far,
it. Yeah,
okay?
and it's far.
And then I couldn't get baptized. Okay, that would be called, because I was baptized when I was a very little kid, that would be called confirmation. Now I started asking questions, and my parents were really, they weren't strict on this, and my dad wasn't around because he was a police officer and working in different regions, and my mom was actually really liberal, so nobody would force you to go to church. Then when I went to high school and learnt about history, how Christianity, Islam, these religions came to the shores of Africa, I mean, I realized, hey, man, this religion has been used to and disenfranchise my people, to soften their heart, okay, to make them accept colonization, okay. So I believe religion is not our thing, at least Christianity. I started questioning Jesus. Jesus, in fact, was not white. We were raised watching Passion of Christ, where Jesus was like a white, blonde, blue-eyed person.
So for you to put Jesus into, like he was just such a...
Yeah, exactly. Then I got to learn about the transatlantic slavery. And now I'm connecting slavery, I mean, all the foundations of capitalism and how religion was used to fool my people. I mean, then me and the church went separate ways.
Then when did you get back? When was your next introduction to church?
That would be when I came here. Because
Well, when we visited you in Africa, in Kenya.
no. So the Mennonite church, I went through, okay. So let me take it back. I mean, I'll
sorry.
come to that,
Yep,
okay?
You're good.
So I moved away from church.
Okay.
I mean, not that I went anywhere else, but I kind of like felt like I became clever and knew the game that church is meant to, is an enterprise.
You thought it was used
and
to
I'd
just...
seen
yeah.
how materialistic the Catholic Church was, and
Yes.
with the problems we were having, and the people who used to say they're like my mom's community in church, and they'd come, my mom would prepare the best food, go out of our way in debt and make sure like they get the best food when they came to fellowship in our house for her, when it was her turn.
Right.
But when she was in problems, nobody really helped.
Oh.
So I moved away from the church, and
Okay.
boarding school doesn't also help again with the church situation.
Was there any sort of church or any religious something
at church? Yeah, we
in
used to have
school?
something called Christian Union in high school, and there was Sundays, there were like evening Christian union services. There was like young Catholic associations, but to me, I tried to get back to them, but I felt like no, I've gotten too clever for this Christian enterprise. So that was it with the church. But then I met you and actually learned about you guys, but that did not change me. So I say when I came here, like I was invited to, remember the church your brother connected me to when he
In
visited
Kenya? Yeah.
I started going to that church. Then I noticed how humble their church was.
Yes.
And nobody was talking about offerings and such. But still, that wasn't enough to change my perspective. But I I'd learned something from their interactions.
What was kind of a
their
good, like, kind of
families,
taste
and
of
that.
Mennonite
Yes.
sort of thing.
So when I came here, it took me a really long time to actually understand you guys. So because and every day that was going on, I thought I was clever, and I was like, no, this is a Christian game. It's not for my people. It's just for people who live in the Western countries, meant to benefit you guys. But then after going through the instruction class and seeing how the community here lives according to the interpretation of the Bible, so I quickly, in my mind, I was able to distinguish between Christian nationalism and Christianity. So I'd not make that distinction before. And what I had in mind that disenfranchised my people was Christian nationalism, where a particular sect of people use religion to fool and disenfranchise a certain
a different
group
culture,
of people,
yeah.
because they tend to be more welcoming, and they tend to be more, what should I say, they tend to be more, there's this term, the term that servile comes from. They're like happy and jovial and okay.
Not
They,
really
they
suspicious
let
that
their
somebody-
guard
yeah,
down.
not
Exactly.
suspicious that
And then
somebody's-
these people quickly realizes that, and they take advantage of that, and they use religion
Yeah.
to reinforce that. So I'd say after coming here and realizing you guys was when I was like, hey, you know what? I think I was wrong. I distinguished what the problem was.
Yeah.
And yeah, right now I can say with a high degree of certainty that, yeah, Christianity is a really good religion with a set of principles and virtues that are good for everybody. I'm still very tolerant to a lot of religions because I believe humans, as long as whatever you are believing in does not disenfranchise another person, you are allowed to do whatever you are doing. So I have no fight with Islam. I have no fight with Hinduism and all that, but I respect Christianity right now, and I do understand the benefit that comes with that. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is it with me and how I grew up. I mean, with my teenagehood and the early youthful life and the church.
Did you think that when you were in boarding school or a teenager that you would someday be sitting under a tree in America?
No way. I had never had that in my mind.
Yeah,
I never thought of that.
That's
Yeah.
kind of amazing how I do really feel like God led me and you together. It's a pretty big jump to think that where you grew up in Kenya and where I am here, and our differences in culture, our differences in growing up, and how, I don't know, how you've been such a big blessing in my life. Like, I feel like we were just kind of made for each other. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I feel like God had his hand in that, and I feel like God also brought you here
Yeah.
into this community for a purpose.
Yeah.
Just some things you've said, and even how you were as a person when we started talking.
Yeah.
I feel like you've changed a lot, and I feel like it's been hugely for the better.
Yeah,
So-
maybe I should mention something about that. I mean, yeah, you've been a blessing to me in a lot of ways because, but the biggest blessing you have been is like you've just changed the trajectory of my life because where I was headed, like I was proud and angry person,
Yeah.
and I mean, right now like my life has just done a whole 180 degrees. And you kind of like given it a sense of direction and
Well, and I give God glory for that. I
Amen.
mean, it's not because of who I am for
Yeah.
sure, but I do feel like, yeah, I feel like your eyes have changed. The
How
window,
are my eyes?
the windows into your soul, I feel like are happier. I feel like there's anger in them. at
yeah,
all.
exactly.
But I think our small son is about done with
Definitely.
this.
So we've traversed through dating, church, language, early like the teenagehood
Yeah.
life and early youthful life. I think it's time to end this
I
video,
think
right?
so. I think that's what. I think we're done.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Yes,
everyone who's
thank you.
supporting us. It's getting late. We have to wrap this up
Yeah.
because Dos is angry, is tired,
He's
needs to
tired.
go to sleep.
He's tired.
And see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.